What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Candyman, the newest iteration in the horror franchise that's directed by Nia DaCosta. Now, before we begin, if you like this channel, awesome, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like any of the videos, awesome, hit that like button, as well as commenting below on any video that you watch, including this one. So, say his name 5 times in a mirror and he will come and kill you. And so that is the lore of Candyman himself. He's an individual that was killed. He's an individual that comes back if you say his name. And he is one of the, what I consider one of the great horror characters, horror villains in modern movie history in a lot of ways. He's like the second generation or third generation of, like, you know, Freddy and Michael Myers and so on and so forth. And so this like reboot or reiteration is the story of a character played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who of course was in Aquaman. He plays Aaron. Aaron's a painter. His girlfriend slash wife is played by Tatiana Paris, who of course was in WandaVision. She is an art dealer and they have a good working relationship. Well, he says the Candyman thing 5 times. Candyman starts affecting his career, his life. He starts painting Candyman, and people around him, you know, may or may not start dying in this movie, and so on and so forth. And so this movie, as we know, is produced and co-written by Jordan Peele, who of course did Us and of course the famous Get Out. This is also co-written by Nia DaCosta, who directed this movie, as well as she's going into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this movie gained a lot of traction for not only for what Jordan Peele is known for, which is showing a lot of the plight of the African American community through the last few years, the last decades, and so on and so forth. This is a movie that was really hitting to like the, you know, cops versus African American community. It's also a movie that really looked like it was going to be very, very effective and doing great horror, which Jordan Peele has kind of started to come into becoming one of those classic horror director, horror writers that has a lot to say, because you can take horror, use a lot of underlying themes, and become really successful with the creation of, you know, great horror movies. But it also looked like just a great time at the theater. It looked like it was gonna be a lot of fun. The Candyman legend lore, though not the most iconic, is still a legend of its own, and I was really looking forward to it. I like Yahya Abdul-Mateen, I like Tatiana Paris, and so that is the kind of interesting dichotomy of how I felt about this movie. I was really on board for the first half of this movie when you learn about a little bit of the lore, you learn about Aaron and his girlfriend, you learn about this world that they live in, the idea of, you know, Candyman kind of being a thing and the history behind it and so on and so forth. And then the minute he says Candyman, and this is not like everything about the second half of this movie because it's only an hour and 30 minutes, but there is something missing as soon as he says that point, to the point where there's a lot of interesting concepts and ideas being thrown out there. There's a lot of interesting set pieces that include the violence and the use of Candyman himself that feel so out of place, that feel like it's really choppily edited, like it doesn't feel like it fits well into a cube, I guess you could say, or a puzzle piece, that you start kind of losing your way as you're watching the movie. There was a lot of people that were really confused about some of the revelations in this movie, about some of the things that Aaron was doing, about some of the things that the girlfriend, the Tatiana Paris character, was doing. There's a lot of stuff that involves Candyman himself that's not really fully explained. There is some, you know, lore that is explained, which I understood because, you know, I kind of have a grasp on the lore itself, but there's something kind of missing. There's something missing in translation that either Jordan Peele and Nia DaCosta really weren't able to get on the screen very well, or they're really trying to be so effective in what they're telling about, you know, how white America or the African American community is treated, that some of the horror elements, some of the conclusion elements don't necessarily represent very well. And then it gets to a conclusion which I actually found kind of interesting, but I was leaving the theater and people were like, I didn't get what was going on. Like, what does this mean? What is this? What is happening here? And I tried to explain to the people in the theater what my opinions are, which maybe I'll do an Any Explains, I don't know. But it still confused people. It's like, I don't get it. And it actually made people quite upset. But I think if you like Candyman, any of the Candymans, and you go into watching this movie and you see what it's trying to represent, I think you'll enjoy the film. But I think there are some really interesting concepts that are just not fully realized. And I think it's a problem of the script itself. It's a problem of the editing. It's a problem, you know, I don't want to say Nia DaCosta is a terrible director, because she's not, because some of the stuff in here is really well shot. Some of the gore is really cool. I do think Jordan Peele sometimes goes a little too heavy on making every single white character very unlikable in his movies. And it's a really interesting thing to see. I understand what he's going for. I understand his views on the America and so on and so forth. But sometimes the characters in his movies are a little too forceful in kind of their views and logic. Overall, I think the movie is interesting. I don't think it's a very good horror film, but I think it at least attempts to use its material to make a statement. But overall, I think once the second half starts going into effect, when everything starts to kind of go into that Candyman lore, I don't think it works. I really don't. I think it's an interesting concept. I think all the people in the movie are pretty decent, but I think it's just trying too hard to represent a message, and instead of just being, natural and, explorative in what it's trying to do. So overall, I didn't really care for this movie very much. I thought it was good first half, but not a very good second half. So that'll do it. That'll be my take on Candyman 2021. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below. Let me know what you think of Candyman. Are you looking forward to this new iteration of Candyman? All that good stuff. Otherwise, let me know in the comments. But if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like any of the videos, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.